Ben, what's going on, buddy? Long time no see.
How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've talked to anybody with Blackstone Cherry. Uh,
Nice.
so you're up to speed. I think it was probably like 11 years ago, probably now, like 10 or 11 years back. You guys came to Vancouver and did a show called The Rock Report on CFOX. Do you remember that?
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys played like Rain Wizard and another song, and it was like, dude, it was so deadly. Like, I was always a fan of your band up until that point, but like, man, I've been preaching the gospel
Oh, thank you, man. Thank
since
you.
that day, man. Like, I'm just a like, it was such a rad day. Um,
Thank you for that.
yeah, you bet. And I've over the years, I'm not tried to get you guys on, but a mutual friend of ours, Dave Brenner from Theory of a Dead Man.
Yeah. Great guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's like one of my best buds. He's like, I know those guys. I know those boys, right? Like I could probably get somebody on, and I just never really pressed him to get him to, to follow up with it. And Dave says, "Hey, by the way."
Nice. Yeah, we'll see those guys tomorrow, actually. We're playing with them in Wisconsin.
That's right. Yeah. Because he was like, I was like, well, dude, you should jump on and like, crash the interview on Zoom.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, dude, I'd love to, but I'm flying. So otherwise, Dave would be crashing the Zoom today. But yeah, he's playing a show with you guys tomorrow night.
Yeah,
That's
it's gonna be good.
Yeah, man. Those guys are rad too, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Texting with Dave, he said, bring up Ben's, what is it called again? Surf Monster. You had a
Oh
merch
yeah,
company, and something happened with
yeah.
Monster
So
Energy. What was that?
in 2020, we obviously had nothing to do.
Yeah.
Uh, and we realized all of our touring was going away due to the pandemic. So I'm not one of these people. I can't just sit around and not do anything. I always have to have my mind stimulated to do something. So I
Yeah.
wanted to an apparel brand for a long time. Even before the pandemic, I just didn't have time to dedicate to it. Because that takes some TLC.
Mm,
And so I looked at my wife and I said, "Look, but if we're not going to be touring, then I'm gonna take some time and invest into this." So, yeah, it's essentially it was a clothing line. We love the beach and Jimmy Buffett and Bob Marley, all that. I love that the whole lifestyle and the surf culture and just being on the water.
yeah.
So we started it in 2020. We called it Surf Monster, and we it was last year. We applied for our trademark, and we kept getting this pushback from a certain energy drink company who didn't like us using the word monster.
That's
And
crazy, right? Like what?
yeah,
You don't own that word.
it's unbelievable. So I went to our attorney who helped us set up our LLC and stuff. And he said, "Oh, this will be an easy fix. I'm just going to go back to them and explain that you guys are selling t-shirts. You're not selling drinks. And he said, it should go away."
Yeah.
And they fighting it and fighting and fighting it. And so much so that we had to send in all this stuff. And it was just got too crazy. And I said, you know what? Because he said, "Man, you can probably fight this tooth and nail and probably win." He said, "But it's going to cost you a lot of money to go up
Oh,
and fight." And I said, "Man, I'm not going to waste my time trying to prove to them that
yeah.
I'm not a threat."
You're not a threat. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I said, "I'm just going to rebrand it and just look at it as a godsend, a silver lining that I can rebrand it and kind of expand now and do different stuff, not just beach stuff." So
Mm,
that's kind of what that is. So now we're called Sunny and Stoked, which
okay.
essentially it's the same vibe, but it's not just beach oriented. It's all kind of outdoor lifestyle stuff.
Right on. Right on. Well, say hey, Dave. Say hey to Dave for me. I haven't seen that guy in person for years. He, used to live in Vancouver, but now he's moved away, so I haven't seen him for years. But say hey to Dave
I
for me
will.
if you see
I
him.
will.
And how good does it feel to like be back playing music in front of your fans and like what a
Oh,
crazy couple of years, hey?
yeah, it feels amazing. I mean, I think the fans are feeling that too more than ever. When concerts first came back around, I think people were like reality check going, "Wow, we didn't realize how much you missed this."
Hmm.
Um, So it's been a really good reality check, I think, not only for bands that might have, gotten a little too jaded out there. And now they get, when it gets taken away from you, you kind of realize what you had. So, and fans too are appreciating the live experience again, even more so now than ever. So,
Hmm.
it was an unfortunate wake up call, maybe, but it's all good. We're just glad to be back and doing it.
Right. And so what was the approach then for Blackstone Cherry? Like, was there a game plan once they announced the closures? There's no touring. You can't go to weddings. You can't go to funerals, like lockdown and all that shit. Was there a game plan, or you guys just kind of crashed through it as you're going?
We kind of, I mean, we had just finished recording our album, The Human Condition, right at the top of the lockdown. That was
Okay.
around March. We got out of the studio, so we were sitting on music, and couldn't do anything about it. But we
Right.
still just released the album in October of 2020, just because we were like, we know we can't go out and fully tour it this year to support it, but we had to have something to look forward to. We couldn't just sit on music forever
Sure, the
because at that,
fans too, right? Like we
yeah,
would want something too, right?
yeah. And at that point too, there was no answer on when it was going to open up. So it's like we could be sitting on this thing for 2 years. So it's like, screw it. Let's just put it out in the fall and give our fans something, and it gives us something to look forward to. And so that's what we did. And then we played a few shows at the end of 2020. We went out and did some shows in Florida with Steel Panther, which was great. And then
That's great. Those guys are awesome, man.
it was awesome. And then we just slowly but surely in 2021 just kind of inching back out there. We were like one of those bands that was like, if anybody's booking shows, we'll go do it. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
um so
yeah.
yeah, that was our game plan. Luckily we had at least an album to look forward to during the bulk of the pandemic.
Mhm. And do you remember your first show back, like where it was, and like just the craziness and the energy of the fans and stuff?
Yeah, the first show back was October 20th of that year, and it was in our hometown. There's an organization in our hometown called Entertain Glasgow, because I live in Glasgow, Kentucky,
Okay.
and they did an outdoor event, like a pod style show.
Mm.
Um, and they did it, and man, it was just that was our first show. We hadn't played a show since February, and we've never gone that long without playing a show or something. February to October, that was just insane. Because the last show was February. Anyway, so yeah, I remember our hometown. It was just like you couldn't get anybody. It was like a cloud nine experience. Like you just couldn't come down from that feeling. We felt it. The people that came out to the show, it was like thank you, thank you. It was just a great experience.
Yeah.
And I still remember that night. I was wide awake. I just was so excited, even afterwards.
It's
And
good
I
to
was like, man,
see.
it was a testament to how much I love performing and how much we all love it. Just to get that little taste of it again, it was awesome.
Right, right. And like you say, you take that for granted too, right? Like not only as fans, but as performers, you take that for granted. You're able to take the stage, give to your following, like
Yeah,
taken away,
absolutely.
like crazy, man. Yeah. And why is it, do you think that or at least I've read and heard interviews from you guys and stuff, why is it you think that Blackstone Cherry is typically like I guess I don't want to say does better, but for a lack of better words, like why do you guys do better, do you think, in like the UK and Europe and stuff rather than here in North America, in the States and Canada?
Yeah, that's $1 million question. We've been asked that a lot, but I don't know. I think the fact that we just went over there with no preconceived notion of what to expect. The first time we went over there was 2007, and we were nervous and gullible to anything. Never been out of the country,
Yeah,
and exception of Canada. But I mean, like as far as like getting on a plane and flying over an ocean,
sure.
and then so we just went over there and did our thing. We weren't really trying to impress or do anything like that. And I think the fans saw that. I think they appreciated that we weren't coming over there trying to look and sound like an English band just because we're touring in England, and we weren't doing anything that was currently happening at that time that might have been popular. We just went and did it, and it just caught on. And I think that we kept going back and back and back and investing into that territory. And I think that has a lot to do with it as well. As I know a lot of bands will go over there and play a festival or do a tour, and then they won't go back for like 2 or 3 years. And
Mm.
for us, it was continue to go back and nurture something that we believed in. And I think the fans and promoters appreciated that as well. And God bless them, man. They've been by our side and have given us some incredible opportunities. And yeah, the exact answer, I don't know why, but we're just going to go with it.
Yeah, totally right. I mean, ultimately, who cares where the fans are? Just play for where they are, right? And it's also, talking with bands over the years, not only just this podcast, but through my time at CFOX and all my radio stuff, like 20 years there. It seems like that European crowds, there's something about them as well. It's like they
Yeah,
crush the North American. It's like, what is it? What do they just
it's a
like music
lifestyle.
more than us? Like, what is it? Lifestyle? Exactly, right?
It's a way of life over there. Like, well, rock is still king over there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, don't get me wrong. Pop music and all that stuff like that is huge over there too. But like, rock is still, not that it's not here, but it's never not been like relevant and the number one thing over there.
Mhm.
There are certain country artists even that are huge here that you can mention their name to somebody over there and they're like, never heard of them. Who? And I'm talking like big name artists that are, stadium artists here, but just
Yeah.
over there are like, give me White Snake. And it's like, that's just the culture. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Hey, what's the biggest show you guys have ever played?
Download Festival in England in 2018.
Yeah.
We supported Guns N' Roses, and there was a little over 100,000 people.
Holy shit. Is that hard to live in a moment like that?
Yeah, it felt like being in outer space for a minute, or like riding a roller coaster. You have all these nerves and anxiety leading up to the performance. Like the whole day, it was just like the whole day felt like waiting in line to get on a roller coaster ride. Just the excitement, also the nerves, and then you
Totally.
go up to the show, and before you know it, it's done. It was like an out of body experience. It's like, whoa, it's that 45 minutes just went by, or that hour just went by like that.
Yeah.
You're ready to get in line and go do it again. So it was pretty surreal.
Yeah. You almost go like you go through the motions almost. It's like when you get in a car, right? Like you get in a car and you drive a specific route all the time. And you're like, holy shit, I'm already here. You didn't even realize because you're listening to an interview or you heard a song you like on the radio and you kind of got involved in that and the driving just took off on its own. Like, would you say
Sure.
it's kind of the same sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Once you get up there and we kick into the first song, it's kind of off to the races a little bit. The
Yeah.
the nerves start to calm down a little bit because you're all in it together at that point. So yeah, once the set starts, yeah, then you're just kind of, I wouldn't say go through the motions, or because we don't like to phone it in, but
No, no.
you get regimen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Okay, what
sure.
we do now, we're here.
Hmm. And isn't somebody from the band related to one of the Kentucky Headhunters? I remember that
Yeah,
from your time at CFOX.
yeah. Our drummer, John Fred, his dad and his uncle both play in the Kentucky Headhunters.
That's incredible,
Yeah,
man.
it's cool, man.
And so what's a bottle of ski? Dumas
It,
Walker, right? You got Slawburger fries, bottle of ski.
yeah,
What's a bottle of ski?
it's a popular drink in our area. It's like it's a citrusy drink. I would say not like, I guess you could put it in the Mountain Dew family, but it's got more of a zing to it. It's got more of a citrus burn.
Yeah.
It's really good. I mean, people like, stores around here can't keep it in stock, but because it's a local thing to our area too. So it's bottled in a town called Greensburg, Kentucky, which is probably 20 miles from here. And it's just always been a local drink to Southern Kentucky. And yeah, so I know the headhunters have been asked that all out their career, like, what is ski? And then
Oh,
people try
totally.
want to taste it.
What the hell is a bottle of ski?
Yeah,
So, and how long have you known the guys in the band then? Like since little kids or high school? How far does it go back for you guys?
we just celebrated our 22nd anniversary last week on June
Wow.
4th.
Wow.
We started in 2001. Chris and I were 15 years old, and see the other
Like went to
John.
high school and shit together?
Yeah, those guys went to school together, and I lived in the next town over.
Okay.
Met on the day before Chris's birthday. We met, and they had already been kind of jamming together. And then I met them. I was looking for dudes to play in a band with. They were looking for somebody else to add to their little jam group, you know.
Yeah.
And because we were all at the same age wanting to dedicate our lives to music, you know, and it's hard to find 15-year-old dudes and kids that want to do that, you know, like dedicate your life to something versus going out to the movies or going to party. You know what I mean? That wasn't even our thing. Our thing was just, let's lock ourselves in a house and write some songs. And we
That's
all
cool.
had the same mindset. And then the day after we met, we formed the band.
Wow. So music's always been prominent in your life then, obviously.
Yeah.
And
100%.
what did you grow up around? What are the bands you're growing up listening to? Like your parents playing and stuff?
The biggest influence for me of all time is Elvis Presley. Still is to this day. I'm a huge Elvis fan.
What'd you think of that movie?
I loved it. I saw it. I can't even.
Incredible, hey?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. But and then my favorite band is Aerosmith.
Okay.
So those two things were really the things that catapulted me and really inspired and pushed me to want to do this.
That's cool. And so how old were you, do you think, for like your first serious band where like I'm doing this as a job? Was it 15?
Yeah, 15. I mean, I was in some other bands before our band started, but it was the same thing over and over. Like you're together, you're playing for a couple of weeks in somebody's basement, but then the interest starts to fade for some of the other, you know what I mean? They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. It sounded cool, but for me, I was like, come on, what are we doing? So I never thought I'd meet any other guys my age that wanted to do that. And they in the same thing. So it's kind of like a Cinderella story, the way that it all came about, you know, and the fact that we live so close to each other. So yeah, it was always like the number one thing for us.
Yeah. Maybe you should write a song called Glass Slipper.
Yeah,
Just,
good idea.
Just saying. Um, First concert? I think I asked you this last time. I mean, like I said, it was 10 years ago, but what was your first concert?
My first big official concert was Aerosmith in 1997.
Wow.
In Nashville, Tennessee.
So 90, what album would have that been touring? Do you know?
9 Lives.
9 Lives. Okay. Like Pink.
And Falling in Love is Hard on the Knees. And
Yeah.
great songs on there.
What's some of their best stuff, do you think?
I love everything Aerosmith. I mean, I get in certain moods sometimes. I'll listen to a lot of the 70s Aerosmith, obviously, like Toys in the Attic and Rocks are just incredible albums.
Right.
And Get Your Wings. And then I'll get into the mood where I want to go to the 80s era and listen to the classics, you know, like, you know, Pump and Permanent Vacation.
Yeah.
You know,
dude, the Permanent Vacation was like, you know, it was such as just a, you know, it was almost like clear. You just restarted that band, right? Like Permanent
really
Vacation.
That was their mega comeback, you know.
Yeah.
Loving It later and Janie's Pump, but
Jamie's Got a Gun, yeah.
Jamie's Got a Gun, fantastic songs. But one of my favorite albums to them this day is Get a Grip, which that came out in 1993.
And that's like Eat the Rich and all that.
It was like a greatest hits album. Crying, Crazy, Eat the Rich, you know, Amazing. There's so many great songs on that album.
So many, yeah. And what still stands out from your first concert seeing them?
I remember just staring at them on stage, but then also transporting myself thinking, wow, this is so cool because they're playing this show, then they're getting on a bus and they're going to another place and they're going to do it again. And then they're going to do it again. I was like, what's going on backstage right now? Those are the kind of things that were in my mind that I was so interested in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that lifestyle. That's what I dreamt of, you know. And so not only taking in the show and just being enthralled that I was looking at these famous musicians on a stage, but also like what's going on afterwards, you know. Where are they going tomorrow? I love that.
Right. And now you're living that lifestyle. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
New album for Black Stone Cherry called Screaming at the Sky, out September 29th.
Yeah.
Obviously written over the pandemic years. After releasing.
We wrote the majority of this on the road, I'd say last year. We were on the road a lot. And when we're out there doing that, we write a lot in the back of the bus or at sound check, you know. So that's where a lot of it came up with, because we know we have to have an album ready at some point, but we're also touring, that we kind of have to do two duties, do the live show and work. Yeah, so we just wrote a lot of it then, and we didn't pull from the well really on anything. We didn't want to. We wanted everything to be fresh and new and exciting, and yeah, I'm super super proud of this album. I think people are just gonna. I mean, I hope that they're gonna love it. I know we do.
Oh yeah, man. The songs you've released so far are Out of Pocket is such a fucking rad song, dude. Like,
Thanks.
holy crap,
Thanks.
that's such a great song. Does the Tina Turner What's Love Got to Do with It? Does that make the album?
Yeah, so it's a bonus track for the album. We recorded that last June,
Yeah.
and had no real intention of releasing it this early. Well, I mean, like I said, it was a bonus track, so it'll be on like a deluxe edition of the album. And then with the unfortunate passing of her, we talked to our management, and they were like, "What if we released this as a tribute, and did it in a respectful way, and donated our portions to domestic violence?" So that's kind of where this came about. We didn't want to do it on the coattails of her passing, but we also wanted to put it out as a tribute and say, "Hey, thank you for great music. We obviously did this before." Before you passed away, so we were fans. Before, we're not just trying to cash in. We're not cashing in anyway because we're donating our money. But we didn't want to get notoriety off of someone's death, so that's why we want to put it out in a respectful manner.
I've been banging that here at the house. The first time I played it, my wife's like, "What is going on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's Blackstone Cherry covering Tina Turner. You guys
Oh,
do,
that's awesome.
yeah, do a great job of that." Dude, fair to say that you've had an incredible career thus far, and it continues to keep going. Could you
Thank you.
pick like one career highlight, or is it just way too hard?
It is tough because I think I mean, I'm blessed to say that we've had several, but I would say one show that we did as in the last few years that we really wanted, it was a bucket list venue, was when we played the Royal Albert Hall.
Oh,
And we filmed a DVD of that because we knew, like, hey, if we're playing here, this has to be recorded. We've wanted that venue for years, and it's such a hard venue to get into. The process to be able to play there is it's crazy. And
really? Why
I
is
mean,
that?
I don't know. I think it's just because if it's such a prestigious place, and that the waiting list is years long, and the fact that we were able to do it was just amazing. And what's cool is we played it September of 2021, and the night before we were there playing our show. Sorry, my dog's going crazy.
That's
The
I
night
can't
before,
honestly can't even hear him. It's fine.
okay,
Yeah.
the night before we played our show, they did the new James Bond movie premiere at the same venue. So like Daniel Craig and all these celebrities were there. And then we rolled in the next day, and it was like, this is just crazy to think about. Like, that's the kind of venue it was, and it was like, this is just, it was another one of those out of body experiences too. My family came over to see it. It was just really fun.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to pick highlights, but that's a pretty cool highlight for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure how much time I've got with you. So I've got a bunch of more questions if you're cool sticking around for a bit.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get outside of music then and kind of get to know you a little bit here. What are you binge watching right now?
We just finished Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
We love Ted Lasso. We finished, I'm going to take he wants water. He's going to keep
Oh, sure.
crying.
Yeah.
We finished Daisy Jones and the Six. We liked that. And then, other than that, we watched a cool show called Shrinking.
Oh, I've heard about that.
It was really good. It's got Harrison Ford and Jason Segel in it. It's a really, really cool show.
Okay.
But now we've got to find something else to watch. Because
have you watched Succession?
I was getting ready to say Succession is next on the list because I don't go a day without hearing somebody talk about that show.
Yeah, man. And I almost like 90% of the people I talk to on this podcast, and I talk to hundreds a year. I usually ask this question because I'm genuinely curious about what people do beyond what they're known for, right?
Sure.
And like, man, as of late in the last like 6 months, 8 months, a year or so, like everybody says Succession.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and I know it's got the Kieran Culkin in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the guys on the road with us, has been talking about it forever. So I think that'll be the next one we sit down and start to watch.
Yeah, man, it is so good. And same for the what's the Kevin Costner
Oh, Yellowstone.
Yellowstone, man.
Oh
Is
yeah, we adore Yellowstone.
dude that I'm the Succession kind of reminds me of Yellowstone, but set in the business world, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very cool. How about all the superhero stuff? Like, do you like all the X-Men, Batman, Superman, Deadpool, Wonder Woman? You like that world?
I love Deadpool. I don't. I mean, as a kid, I still do. Like I always see the Batman, all that stuff. I really liked the obviously Michael Keaton's, but I like the Val Kilmer and George Clooney era.
Yeah,
But I haven't followed up. I feel like there's just too many
there's
Marvel
lots.
movies now. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
which one
overkill.
am I on? It's like Fast and Furious. It's like hard to keep up with. It's like God,
Fast
why
and Furious.
I don't have the money to keep up with this. But
Yeah,
so I haven't followed those as much.
yeah. Which superpower would you want to have?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I guess as a kid, I love the Batman thing just because it was two different
Yeah,
worlds. You know what I mean? Like you could be yourself, and then I mean, Superman was kind of the same deal, but Batman always had the cool car and the Bat Cave, and it was just kind of a vibe.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
had to be one. I'd probably be Batman.
That's a good choice. You have you ever had any shitty jobs?
Growing up, I mean, I wouldn't say there were jobs I didn't like at the time. I worked at a factory one time, just pushing boxes through a conveyor, and it was easy work, but it's just, it's just daunting.
Monotonous, boring, like
Gosh, dude. So that, and
yeah.
then I did work at our state park one year and maintenance, and it was really cool because it's right on the lake.
Hmm.
And but you had to weed eat and mow yards every day and pick up dead animals, which that wasn't a cool part about it, but it was fun being at the lake every day of the summer, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But at the time, I hate looking back. I was like, that's not that bad.
Yeah, true enough. Hey, recommend a rock autobiography. Did you read those styles of books?
Yeah. I have Joe Perry's book that I need to read. I've been reading. I'm a huge Jimmy Buffett fan.
Mm.
And I've been reading his book too. A
Boy,
pirate looks. What's that now?
so I was gonna say, boy, he's like the epitome of like, look what one big song can do for your life.
It's unbelievable. I mean, he's a billionaire off of one song.
One song.
Yeah, and how you can brand that, and he's just. I love Buffett, but I've been reading his book. He's got several books out, but I love his life. I live
Yeah.
vicariously. I think.
It's almost like Sammy Hagar from Van Halen
Yeah,
kind of. He kind of
yeah,
tears a page out of that as well. Like
yeah.
if he's not on tour, he's down in Cabo San Lucas and he's toes in sand and all that
Yeah.
kind of shit, right? It's pretty cool.
Smart. They're smart for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the way to do it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Joe Perry autobiography is called what?
It's called Rocks.
Rocks. Oh,
Yeah.
of course it's called
Yeah.
Rocks.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Rocks, My Life in and Out of Aerosmith, I think is what the subtitle is. But
Okay.
I need to start that. But
Okay.
I've got like a page or two. I'm a terrible reader though. Like
I'm
I'll
bad myself, man.
put it down and like then read. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
I'm
get
not one.
lost. So like, where was I? And I can't
Yeah.
remember what it was. I got to read like 3, 4 pages to catch up. Like
Yeah.
I'm bad myself too. Yeah, yeah. Aliens. Do you think that they visited? Do you think maybe they live among us?
I mean, I don't know. I don't go down the rabbit hole. If you were talking to our drummer right now, he would definitely go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I was saying effectively.
yeah. And
Um,
people do though, right? Like there's certain
yeah,
things that, like you jump on YouTube, I'm going for a ride, right?
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's got to be. I don't know if it's like what we think is these dudes like take me to your leader stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But I don't know. There's got to be some life out there, surely somewhere.
Has
I
to
don't
be.
know.
Big
Yeah,
big galaxy, big solar system.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. All right, I'll ask you a couple more questions, Ben. And we'll wrap it up. We'll respect your time here. I could
cool.
shoot the shit for the rest of the day if you like.
Yeah,
Are you a big sports fan?
yeah.
Who's
I
your team?
love the Cincinnati Reds. Um, I like college basketball, the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, yeah.
So are we our teams in this house for sure.
Are you watching any of the NHL playoffs? You give a shit about that or no?
I never. My wife's been to. She saw the Predators play a couple years ago and loved it, but I've never been to a hockey game. I got to do that.
Really?
I know. I got to do that. I feel bad for not doing it because I know I'd love it, but
Well, of course
otherwise,
you
no.
do. Yeah, it's great. And how's the golf game? Because I know a lot of like
Yeah,
guys in theory, man. Those boys can play, man.
I love golf, and I haven't gone in a long time just because of our schedule. And I don't like going out there and like being stressed and knowing that I've got to do something else or be somewhere else. Like, you know what I mean? That's the worst thing. If you're going to play golf, you need to have like nothing else to do for a little while. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
don't want
yeah,
to go out
yeah.
and start pushing and be like, well, I got to get out of here. And let me, like, then you stop giving a shit and, you're
Sure,
not really,
nothing like pushing your game and then suddenly sucking even worse than you should.
yeah. But, I love playing golf. It's totally relaxing.
Yeah, same. I haven't been for a while. It's, COVID and fucking everything else. But
Yeah.
all right. And last one, I want you to tell us a near death story where you're like, holy shit, I could have just died there.
A couple years ago, it was February. My wife and I were driving to Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is about 30 minutes from here. And we just had a big snow. And the snow and ice. And the snow was melting, and it was gone, but it was still really cold out. So there was some still ice like on tops of people's cars. And we're on the interstate cruising along, and this car, like this Jeep SUV, comes in front of me. When they come in front of me, this huge piece of ice slides off the top of their car, right? And I remember looking at it, and I mean, we're talking a gigantic chunk of ice, and it was like twirling in the air. And before I could even do anything, it hit my windshield, driver's side, shattered my windshield. I'm on the interstate, and I panicked. So I pulled off to the left, which is not the right spot to be when you need to, because trucks are flying by me, but I knew I had to get off the road because I couldn't see anything. I was in total shock. I remember looking at I was shaking. There was glass in my mouth. And we were both covered in glass. And anyway, called the police, and they had to tow us off the road. And I remember thinking at that point, if my glass had cracked anymore, I could have been impaled, by a piece of ice. And I was like, this is unbelievable. I was shook to my core.
Holy shit.
If you get on my Instagram or something, if you have Instagram, I posted photos. If you scroll back, I posted photos as like an awareness thing, like, hey,
yeah,
get the tops of your cars, people, because as this starts to melt, that ice is still frozen, and especially like coming off semi trucks, you just hear about these crazy, final destination type accidents.
Sure, yeah, sheets of ice just slicing through butter.
Especially when your car's going, 70, 75 miles an hour, and it comes off and it hits your windshield. But thank God for Dodge windshields, because they were strong enough to not bust right through, but it was completely shattered.
Nice. This part of the podcast brought to you by Dodge.
Yeah, right.
And Ben, thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it. You guys are easy
problem.
to find on Instagram is Blackstone Cherry Official.
Yes.
And of course, blackstonecherry.com will have everything else that anybody needs about your band.
Absolutely.
Awesome, dude. Have a great show tomorrow night. Good to see you. Good luck with the album release September 29th.
That's right.
That's right. If you guys come to Vancouver, maybe I'll poke you and see if we can hang for a beer.
We would love that.
All right, buddy. Take care, man. Good to see you.
Man, have a good weekend.